Hello, I'm Meghann Scully and welcome to Re-Energise, a show that looks at sustainability in all its forms and what we can do to shape a clean energy future. On this episode, we take a trip down to the very picturesque town of Dingle in County Kerry, a community that's taking sustainability into its own hands. I'm here with producer Connor.
Hi, Meghann.
And we had three great guests on this episode who brought us from hub to pub to farm to inspire us with the projects they are involved in. Dinny Galvin is a farmer, Rose Spillane is a publican, and Deirdre de Bhailís is manager at the Dingle Hub.
So I think we had a lot of fun with this episode because we got to go down to Dingle, which is great.
I love Dingle. I just adore it. So any excuse to get down there. But I learned so much more about the community down there. Like, I'm so used to just what everyone knows Dingle is about. The views, the sea, the pubs, the restaurants, and just the whole colour of it. But there's so much more going on. Yeah,
it was amazing. You know, you're standing outside a lovely restaurant or pub and then you're like, oh, look, there's an electric bus that's just gone by. Or you look up and there's solar panels on loads of the roofs. And, you know, you look across and there's, you know, a fairly nondescript building. And inside is this Dingle Hub, which is doing all sorts of stuff.
It's just amazing. And I suppose, like, for me, coming from a farming background and talking to Dinny, he was brilliant. And he just really is open to kind of the changes that are happening around sustainability in farming. And like, as well, the whole lot of them, Rose as well and Deirdre, they have such a great outlook on the future.
Yeah, I love that, you know, they're all thinking about sustainability and climate change and the environment and so on, but they're also all kind of really practical. They're just like, look, this saves money. This is better for my business. It's better for my farm and it's better for the planet, which is great to see. Yeah,
Dinny's really leading the way there with the farming and sustainability, and he's very concerned about farm to fork as well and keeping all the food local. And, you know, we ate in the restaurants and the food on the plate was from down the road, which is incredible. Rose comes from a family pub that's been there 150 years, and she was even speaking about her own children, and she's created a business that they can actually take on, because as we know, hospitality now in Ireland is hard, but Rose is really again leading the way in that sector because she's made incredible changes to their family pub.
And then Deirdre is just bringing everybody together, networking everybody in this hub, which is amazing. So she talks about how farming and tourism are the two big industries. So let's hear a little bit more about farming first.
Dinny, delighted to be here with you in the Dingle Hub. We're here overlooking the water. I can see the beautiful village that is Dingle. It is such a great place. And I think you said 1.2 million tourists come here every year, and I'm not surprised. Now you have to tell us whereabouts from the hub is your farm, and can you tell us a bit about the farm, what kind of farm it is?
Yeah, my farm is in a place called Lisbole. It's about 10 kilometres out the road. I've been farming there since I was 16. Took over the farm in 87. Yeah, farming there since. Started off with 8 dairy cows and 20 sheep. There's about 40 dairy cows there now, and yeah, a few sheep all the time.
So were you milking cows before you came here this morning?
I was indeed, yeah. Milked the cows at 6 o'clock every morning.
Wow.
I had a phone call with Michael Healy-Way at 7 o'clock.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, in between the cows, a lot of fun. Yeah, so, we're involved in quite a lot of stuff, yeah.
Now, Dinny, farmers get a bit of a bad reputation in terms of sustainability, but can you talk to me about some of the practices that you've brought into your own farm?
Yeah, so I was a volunteer with the Dingle Hub here coming in. The manager here is a lady called Deirdre de Bhailís, and she was trying to work on anaerobic digestion. And she asked me would I come in, you know, to a couple of meetings. And I came in and I had one idea outside at home. I'd have quite a lot of water flowing through the farm. So I wanted to put a little hydro to create electricity. Now that's 6 years ago and I'm still trying. So I kind of got nabbed when I came in. I think I got involved in quite a bit of stuff. And we kind of went on from that and there was an energy mentor course organised by the Dingle Hub. I was part of the Dingle ESB project, and the energy mentor course came towards the end of that. And look, I've always had an engineering mind, so wild horses wouldn't keep me away. I get 1 year in secondary school. It's just how life worked out for me. I didn't get the opportunity. But I've always had an engineering mind. Anything I see from wind to water, I'm trying to create electricity and energy with it. So there was a community energy mentor course organised by the Dingle Hub. I took part in that. I was one of 4 farmers. I was the only dairy farmer. There was 12 people in total from the peninsula. And we were doing a lot on energy, again, wind turbines, anything. We had quite a lot of speakers from the SCAI. And on one particular day, we had a professor from the States. He was giving us a bit of a talk, and he said the only way we're going to sort out all the greenhouse gas emissions is to cull the national herd. And in my head, I went ballistic, because I'd have been farming since I was 16, and I was almost 50. And I mean, to hear somebody saying that, for me as a farmer, to have come from a very, very low ebb to try to build up a dairy herd and you know, take care of them. We were educated to do this. I was trained to be intensive and extensive, provide food, give food to people, produce milk from green grass. And yeah, that's so. The following day we had a guy called Lawrence O'Reilly from the SCAI, and Lawrence explained about sustainable energy communities and how you would go about setting up one. And a true question at Lawrence, I said, would it be possible to set up a sustainable energy community of dairy farmers? And he kind of looked at me as if I had two heads. But he said, yeah, we probably would. So off I went. I was on the advisory board of Kerry Agri. I'd know quite a lot of the farmers. I would have worked as an AI technician for 13 years here in the peninsula, so there isn't a back road or the Bohareen that I wouldn't know. and quite a lot of the farmers as well. So off I went, and I set up a steering committee, and I involved a lady from the ESB called Claire McElligott, the manager of the hub here, Deirdre, 4 farmers. Our secretary was a lady called Katrina Fallon. She had worked in the creative arts and a Green Party member, which steadied the ship a little bit at times. And we got involved with 120 dairy farmers. We did an energy master plan through the SCAI, got funding from Kerry Agri, Dove and the ESB, and we completed the master plan. And we have a roadmap now, so it's relevant to the whole dairy industry in the country, so we can see what's the best thing to do to reduce your carbon footprint on the farm from an energy perspective. I suppose when I started this, my idea was, if we reduce our energy, we'll reduce our carbon footprint. And as it was going along, I was told, no, you're not going to do anything to your carbon footprint. And I was going, why not? If I'm reducing my energy, I was told that it will go off the energy sector's emissions, not off of the farm emissions. So that was a bit disappointing. And every time I meet the Minister for Ag or anybody like that, I still have a little bit of a chat with them about that. We need to reduce our emissions by 25% by 2030. Give me 1% for putting PV panels up on my milking parlour, which we've done. Yeah. There's about 20 of the dairy farmers have done that now. More of them have gone off with other companies. We secured a fabulous deal, and we got a great deal from a local solar company here. And there's a pile of work going on in heat exchangers and different things on farms.
It's amazing. And how are farmers evolving with it? Because it can probably be a bit daunting too if you have to kind of maybe change what was your maybe old way of farming.
Yeah, definitely. Again, to me, it's part alien. Because we were trained, like I say, I had some peatland at home, and when I did my green cert in the 90s, which was my agricultural qualification, there were farm development grants at the time for improving land. We actually took the peat off the land, dug a trench, buried the peat and put the better soil on top. This is what I was told to do at the time, to grow more grass to milk more cows. In hindsight, if they paid me to leave it be, that would be a carbon sink, not only for me, but for my neighbours in the vicinity, because it was naturally a hollow, low-lying peaty ground. Should have been left alone. But again, we were just doing what we were being told. So I call it decommissioning. This is what I call it. It took 50, 60 years to teach us to come from milking short-hardened dairy cows to milking pedigree Holstein cows that'll milk 2,500 gallons each per year, compared to dairy short-hardened cow that would have milked maybe 400 gallons back in, 50 years ago. So things have evolved. To decommission us, this is what I call it. On emissions, it has to be done bit by bit. Yeah. And I think it's going to take quite a length of time. I'm told that we haven't that time on our hands because of the temperature of the planet is increasing and that, but you cannot change the mindset overnight. Yeah. And I really believe in a lot of these EIPs and these incentives. If you incentify the farmers to do things bit by bit, show them the benefits, well, then they will get involved, and you will get there that way, but it won't happen overnight.
You mentioned solar panels there on the farm. Have you noticed like a big difference since they've come in?
Absolutely. So for the month of March and April, we returned 2,500 units to the grid, worth 20 cents a unit. Actually, I'm in credit in my electricity for the milking, which is totally separate to the dwelling, of about €130 right now. That never before happened. It's absolutely fabulous. I milked the cows there a few evenings a couple of weeks ago because we had such fabulous weather. I wasn't importing anything from the grid. I had to milk early because I had a meeting on or something. And the 16 kilowatt of PV panels were supplying enough of electricity to milk the cows. So
that's amazing.
A winner.
That is incredible. That is like there's a good story. You're involved in the West Kerry Dairy Initiative. Can you tell me more about that?
Yeah, so we set up the West Kerry Dairy Farmers SEC at the time after the Energy Mentor course, and the PV panels were part of that. But we're kind of at a crossroads now. We are actually mentors now for the SCAI. There's 5 people working here. The Dairy SEC initiated a tourism and hospitality SEC because of heat recovery. I would have had Eamon Ryan on the farm. I'd have had a lot of people over the years. And anybody from the ESB would always end up on the farm because I'd say, come with me a minute. So, funny in a way. But I suppose COVID was coming to an end, and I knew a publican here in town and pub restaurant. And I said, could I drop in someday to see the compressors? So most of those pubs would have compressors for cooling beer, walk-in cold rooms, stuff like that, fridges. So he took me up on the roof and he had 5 compressors. Now, I had one at home for making ice to cool the milk.
Oh, yeah.
And I put in heat recovery back in 2013. So I'd have 500 litres of water every morning from the cooling of the milk at 55 degrees. I was on the pub. There was 5 compressors, a bit smaller than what I had. But I says, OK, Paul, what's your electricity cost for the 12 months? He said, it's €36,000. I said, what? This was before electricity, this is a few years ago, before the electricity costs went up. And we came downstairs and I saw the beer chiller and I saw the fridges. And I mean, in the restaurant, walk-in cold rooms, you can never shut the door.
Yeah.
Because there's somebody coming in, going out with food all the time. And we sat down and I said, will you come out to the farm someday? And he said, what have you to show me? I said, yeah, just come out to the farm someday. So I explained what I had. He said, can I do that? I said, yeah, but just think, I said, that I have 500 litres every morning from one compressor and you've got 5 and you're spending €36,000 on heating water, which is now in the region of €70,000. And he could heat maybe 1,000 litres of water minimum to 55 degrees. Now, for a pub restaurant, for cleaning dishes, for cleaning utensils, that's a fabulous amount of water to have at your fingertips at 55 degrees. Because to heat water from 0 to 20 is what the big cost is. So if you're starting off at 55, you're really going to... I believed I could save him €15,000 of the 36. So the following week, he dropped into his car and he popped out and took a look. And things kicked off from there. We had Fault Ireland were here one day for a meeting and they were looking for an initiative to do something with the tourism and hospitality sector. I gave my spiel and they said, oh yeah, that's it. That's what we need to do. And there's 2 other great people, Martin and Anne, working with us here, and they did a tourism and hospitality SEC, which has now a roadmap, which both Fault and want to roll out to the whole tourism, Western Seaboard and Irish tourism, yeah.
That's absolutely amazing. What advice would you have for farmers who are kind of, I guess, want to take that next step into being more sustainable? And I suppose it's about like creating farmers as well for the future, and it's like keeping people in farming.
Yeah, I suppose what actually happened here was we were advised to be intensive. They forgot to bring the environment along with them. And they kept kicking the can down the road, and then the can came up and hit them between the two eyes, and reality was there. And now the pressure is really on to bring down the emissions in a very short period of time, which my advice would be our findings, our energy master plan is relevant to 16,000 dairy farmers in the country. You have bigger farmers, you have smaller farmers, but we're basically doing the same thing. A lot of the things we found that could be done on farms can be done by every farmer. I would advise to read that. We've sent it to every co-op in the country. And for farmers to come together. That's a big message. Set up SCCs. You need hubs like this as well. Yes, you need Tagascan and you need the farm organisations. You need a little bit of independence at times as well. The Dingle Hub offered us that here, and it really made a massive difference to be able to speak, to have a voice.
Let's take a spin from Dinny's farm, across Connors Pass and down to Spillans Bar.
Rose, you're very welcome over to Dingle, but do tell us, where is Spillans, and can you describe the area to us?
So we are based in the Maharees. It's a little sand spit, a tombolo actually, and it's on the north side of the Dingle Peninsula. So we're in Dingle at the moment, but we drive over the mountain, over the Connor Pass, which is the highest mountain pass in Ireland, and then you'd be looking down at the Maharees, and it's beautiful, but it's right out, sticking out into the Atlantic Ocean.
Wow. And how long have you been in Spillans?
Forever. I grew up upstairs.
Lovely.
It's been in I think I'm fourth generation now, so we're actually celebrating 150 years this year.
Oh wow.
My great granduncle came home from Australia and built the pub in 1875, and then my parents took over in 1975 and they started doing food, so we've been doing food 50 years and we're doing drinks 150 years, and I suppose I'm running it now because with my mum, and yeah, it's part of the family forever and ever.
Wow, that's incredible. How will you be celebrating?
Oh, we'll have to have a party at some stage. Yeah, definitely. We'll have a big bang at some time over the summer. We're still trying to plan it, but it's pretty special. It's pretty exciting that we've been going that long, and it's great. I mean, my parents would have been the big drivers behind it in the last 50 years, but it's a great spot. It's lovely to be working there, and then my kids are my son is like next generation. The customers love him. Yeah, he'll hopefully be the next one in line for it.
That's just like amazing, because it's we've seen, as I said, there's been so many tough times economically for people, and there's been so many different changes, but I guess the real reason we're talking is because of sustainability. Can you tell us about how that started for you with the ESB project?
Well, I suppose because we live in the Maharees, we're very aware of climate change and the effects of climate, and storms. Every time the bigger, more intense storms and everything, the road gets damaged, the buildings get damaged. If there's rising sea levels, we're very susceptible to that. So I suppose growing up, I would have been very conscious of it. And then my dad was always into sustainability. He was very innovative, and he was looking at windmills 35 years ago when they were, just starting out. I suppose Maharees is an SAC, so that you weren't allowed to have a windmill there to run, and the technology was so different at the time. But then when the ESB project came up, it was so exciting, all those new technologies that were coming out, like solar panels were new, the heat pumps were new, all that kind of stuff. And then the idea of getting our building, which was basically 150 years old, but had lots of little renovations over time and lots of add-ons. The idea of getting that retrofitted and being able to do that as part of the project just seemed like such a great thing to do. So when we got chosen, obviously we're delighted. It was just brilliant. And I guess it was 2019, we had to close for a couple of weeks, and they did the whole building. We got everything was insulated, all the walls, we got new windows, new doors, we got all the heat pumps put in, we got LED lighting, everything done basically. So it was like this new building. It was just amazing. It was like, wow. And you could just heat it so quickly, you could keep track of what you were using electricity wise with all the apps and the monitoring and everything else, and just felt like we were being more sustainable because we got rid of an oil stove, we got rid of a gas burner that was heating our hot water, we got rid of open fire, all these different things that were using carbon, and our carbon footprint just was dropping all the time. It just was brilliant. We were very excited about it.
Was it kind of hard to make changes too, because it's such probably a traditional place, and so I suppose woven into the society and your family?
Yeah, I suppose little things like, say, the open fire. You'd think, oh, the fire's not lighting anymore. Some people would have said that. And then we did have this oil burning stove for a while that was kind of realistic. That was before we did, and that was gone. And everyone was like, oh, we missed the fire. But we're like, but it's warm and cozy. You get used to not having the open fire. Little things like that. But I suppose you don't really notice a lot of it in the traditional sense. I mean, the insulation, you didn't see it, or everyone was cozy because there wasn't wind whistling through the old windows, or there wasn't rain dripping down in them from something or other. So that side of it, I'd say the open fire would have been the only thing that one would have said, oh, traditionally we missed that, but everything else it was a no-brainer really.
And how's it been now? So that was 2019, so that's 6 years ago.
Well, we kind of had to go through COVID and all that kind of craziness for a while. My dad passed away at that time as well, and it was just when the project was kind of in the middle of it. So he never saw the electric car that we got for the year. He missed all of that, which was, I suppose, it was kind of a motivation to drive it on as well because he was gone, but it was his baby initially at the time. So I suppose we kind of been driving it on since because it was such a great start that we got. And I've done quite a few bits since. So I put in, with the project, we would have just got 7 panels because at the time it was kind of they were small. It was a new thing, and the whole battery management system and everything was kind of new. But in the last 5 years, that's exploded. So I actually last year put in 40 panels on the roof and a 15 kilowatt battery system. So we're producing so much solar energy, like we're covering a ton of our energy with the solar. That's been the best thing, really, really. Solar panels were the best. Then I'm driving an electric van now. We got the car as part of the project originally, and it was great to have it for the year, and had to give it back, of course. So then when it was time to upgrade our pub van, I switched to fully electric, and all of my journeys are electric now. Like we drive to Tralee fairly regularly for pickups, for groceries and everything. It's all electric, and then I just charge the car on our solar. When in a sunny day, I just top it up, and like I do 5 trips to Tralee with one charge of, so it's brilliant, yeah. And then I suppose we're in the Dingle SEC, the hospitality SEC, so you kind of get lots of tips about what you can or can't, things to do for saving electricity and all that kind of thing. And out of that, we did the SEAI energy efficiency grant. There was you did the audit, got lots of tips to what to do there, and then I applied for the grant, the green energy grant. So this year, I've got 2 big new fridges, a new fridge and a new freezer to replace all our old stuff. And already in the last 3 months, I can see the savings on that because they're big, new, efficient technologies. Our old fridges and freezers were really old, basically, and not efficient. So that's been great to get that grant already this year. I got a composter which runs on electric, but again, the solar panels are running it. But last year, all of our food waste went into this. It's an aerobic digester. We've put all our food waste in there, all our shells, all our crab, everything, for the whole year, and everything was just turned into compost, which I gave to a farmer.
Oh, brilliant!
Yeah, so that was brilliant as well. But that was, I suppose, kind of on the sustainability side as opposed to the renewable side. But I was really excited about that.
As well, though, I suppose the one thing is we've noticed with the sector, with the hospitality sector, is the rising costs of just staff and the VAT and all the rates and everything. But have you found then with this whole sustainability project and with all the work you've done, does it kind of in some way help or balance out? Or
yeah, I suppose it's something you can kind of be positive about because there are so many costs. It is really tough, but some things you can't control. You can't control the cost of wages, you can't control the VAT, you can't control what the government does with this, that and the other thing. But at least with energy you can say, right, it's something I can control, it's something I can do something about. And then with the whole sustainability thing, it is good for business as well. It's good for your customers. You can advertise it basically. You can put we've got a green energy page on our website, saying what we're doing, and it's people like that. They were excited that we're composting food, or they're excited that we have the panels on the roof. People notice that I'm driving the electric car. That's good. It's good feedback from your customers and good for your business that way as well. So it kind of brings customers in because they know you're trying to do something for the environment as well.
Yeah, I think people are really aware of it now.
Yeah, no, they totally are. Way more so, yeah.
And what about then for maybe people who are watching or listening who are publicans, hospitality sector, restaurateurs, and maybe want to take that step into being more sustainable, but maybe either are afraid to or don't know where to start? What advice would you have for them?
I suppose start small.
Yeah.
You could say, oh, I have to get all of this stuff done and it's going to cost a fortune, I can't afford it. Well, that's going to be obvious. So you just say, right, what can I afford this year? And definitely look at all the grants out there. Like the Leo Local Enterprise Office, they do so much stuff. And then there's loads of, like the government has lots of initiatives. So it's kind of a little bit of education, see what's available and then say, right, what can I do? What can I actually afford this year? I would say the panels would be the biggest no-brainer. If anyone, because I think my panels were about 23,000 in total after the grant, but it just saves so much money.
Yeah.
And if, you know, even to get out a loan for that, you're saving more than that in the cost of electricity at the moment, because electricity is so expensive. So I would say small amounts and just definitely look at what's out there in grants, because there's lots of stuff available. But I think just go in bite sizes and just say, I can do this year and I'll do something else next year and go like that.
From farming to tourism and bringing it all together, let's hear from Deirdre.
I always say I'm very lucky when I get to come down to this part of the country, driving through Connors Pass, getting into the village that is Dingle. It's always such, I feel like, a magical and special place. So Deirdre, thank you so much for bringing us in here to the Dingle Hub, which you, of course, are the manager of. So can you tell us about your role here?
Yes, well, the short answer is that I am manager of the Dingle Hub, and that role, I suppose, has evolved over time. I'm so glad you said how you feel about it's a magical place, because coming from here, that's what we always feel about ourselves. So it's lovely when people who are visiting say the same thing about it. We feel it is a really, really special place. The role was advertised initially in 2018 to manage the Dingle Hub itself, which was a shared workspace at the time. But also in that advertisement there was the partnership with ESB Networks for their Dingle project to look at, from an energy perspective, sustainability into the future. Now, I have an engineering background myself, so that really appealed to me. But also I'm from a generation here that was advised, maybe there's nothing for you here in terms of career-wise. Go get educated and keep going. And I suppose that stuck with me, and I found ways to move home with some early remote working opportunities. And when the role in the hub came up, that I suppose offered maybe the opportunity to support people to do the same, to work and live here and to build their careers from here. That was a very, very attractive role. So we began then by looking at what does a sustainable future look like for the peninsula from an economic perspective as well as an environmental perspective. And we said that, you know, if we are going to look at explore opportunities, we were going to do it with a sustainability focus. And so that's how the role has emerged over time. We became embedded in many innovation projects, the first one of those being the ESB Networks project, and that has evolved over time. We have since ceased the provision of workspace services. We no longer offer desks and office space, but we are very, very focused on now a living lab, really, of sustainability projects. And that's what I suppose the role of the Dingle Hub manager is, to take a look at those projects, to understand how they can benefit the area, and to plan for succession of those projects as one ends. What is the next thing that we need to do?
Can you tell me about some of the projects?
So in the very early days, we said we need to understand what are the strengths of the area, what are the assets of the place. Of course, in any place, the key asset is the people. But what I feel about the Dingle Peninsula is that because we live on the edge, or Erin you'd say, Oscailin, people here naturally have to have an entrepreneurial spirit. So that term living lab sits very well with us. We like to trial things and explore new ways of doing things. So that is our great strength. The other asset of the place, I suppose, our two main sectors are agriculture and tourism. So it's exploring what does a sustainable future look like for them. We We see the challenges for agriculture and reducing emissions, and the challenges of making it work economically now in this country, where we all love our local food that is produced locally and tastes delicious. How do we make it work in an economic way? And at the same time then, our tourism, we're so fortunate, as you said. I mean, it is a beautiful, beautiful place to live. But as tourism expands, how do we do that in a sustainable manner, in a manner that gives back to the place? We see globally the tensions happening around tourism. We were at a point here where we can maybe steer it in a different direction. So that's the type of projects we're looking at, working with our farmers, their challenges around emissions. How do we look at slurry emissions on the farms and managing them, looking at grassland management projects. How can we support the farmers? Are there technologies out there that can support them to manage the grass in such a way that they're reducing their chemical fertilizer input? Can we produce energy out of some of the waste products on the peninsula? Can we work with all our tourism businesses to map out their sustainability journey? What are the measures they can take to become more energy efficient in their business? And the good news is, with all of those plans, you can see that you're not just being energy efficient, you can actually have an economic benefit out of all of these measures. So there's a lot of win-win. So the projects are working with all of these, both of these sectors, to look at their sustainability roadmaps, if you like.
It's a really kind of circular, I suppose, aspect to it. And it's funny, I stayed in Dingle last night, and one thing I noticed was the amount of people around, and it was really good buzz, and it was like midweek, and tourists and locals. And then when I went to the restaurant, it was like almost everything on the menu was within a couple of kilometres of where we were sitting. I thought that is really good to see. You know, as you mentioned, like Dingle is such a destination for not just tourists from America and beyond, but for Irish tourists as well.
No, it is fantastic to see that, and there are great examples around the town living that. But we think there can always be more, you know, that you can really strengthen those networks between producer and tourism businesses, and both sectors can really support each other. One of the areas that we look to is the development of biogas as a solution, not just for producing energy, but for tackling some of our waste challenges, and also for generating new business and new income on the peninsula. One of the things that we see from our plans is that we are over-reliant maybe on private car use, so it's a high level of energy use is transport. How can we tackle that? We have, tractors here. We have boat trips out onto the marina. Could they be run off biomethane? These are all questions at a very early stage so far, but if we truly want to look to a sustainable future, can we have the security of producing our own biogas on the peninsula and using it within our own sectors and our own markets? And can we continue to strengthen the networks between food producers and our tourism businesses?
Absolutely, and as we're talking, a boat is just going by. I would have studied actually quite a lot of playwrights and poets from this area, because of course there's the Gaeltacht, and when you drive here, I remember passing the sign saying you are now in on Gaeltacht. So how are you bringing the power of the Irish language that is here, I suppose, culturally as well, and keeping it alive?
When we speak of, I suppose, the strengths and assets of the place, it is a Gaeltacht area, and we can really draw on that sense of pride in our culture and our heritage that we have in the area. And one of the things that we have realised as we work on these different initiatives with people is that we can really tap into what is an ancient language, and it is the wisdom of that. I look to Monk and Meghann and the book of 32 words for a field. So many of our place names connect us to our environment. So many of our Nahana Kainta and our Shanukal, they're full of wisdom about how our well-being, how we reconnect with the environment. So it's about tapping into that and using it, because I think there's a depth and a wealth in the Irish language that we won't find maybe in other languages or in the English language to describe our relationship with the environment and how we do that. So there are beautiful phrases. I suppose one of the ones that is well known across the country is Meghann. There's no word for that, Asperla. So, and people really understand that it's a collective, it's a coming together, and a lot of our initiatives are about people working together for a sustainable future.
Finally, for those maybe who are listening or watching and thinking, we don't have a hub in our community, where can they start, or what advice would you have maybe to get it going? Because you mentioned at the start, you're like, it's all about people and the people. So where could someone maybe, if they're living in a rural part of Ireland, think, you know what, this is something that we could do?
Yeah. And the thing is, I suppose I'm using the term a local organisational structure. We were fortunate to use the hub as the structure to build on that and to build the vision for the future. There are many other structures across the country. In some areas it's likely it will be the tidy town structure that will work well for people. We can see a lot of sustainable energy communities. They can use that framework as well. So it can be different structures in different areas at the moment. In an ideal world, of course, it would be a replicable structure across the country, but it really depends. It depends on the local people as well who is involved in different committees. But the most important thing, I think, for any community starting out is that you have a structure, a robust structure, and that has strong governance on it as well, because when we look at top-down approaches, there are many different funds that you can apply to undertake actions and get stuff done in your area. But you do need to have a proper structure and formal governance around it, and it's really important to start from that point. And the other thing too that we have learned over the years is the social piece is so important. I mean, that's what brings people to the table. So it's really important in all of the initiatives maybe that communities undertake is to have fun doing it.
That's it for this season of Re-Energize. Thank you to all our guests throughout the episodes, and we hope you've been inspired to help create a better future.
This podcast was produced and recorded by the Podcast Studios for ESB. Production and editing by Connor Reid. Project management by Katie Flannery. Original music by Dan Wilcox. Video editing by Judy Hassett. Graphics and design by Matt Mahon.